Hi everyone. I'd like to welcome you today to this webinar, Building Your AI Content Strategy with Umbraco. I'm just going to jump into the agenda for today. So initially we'll do some brief introductions between myself and Bolette, and then we'll talk about CMS and AI foundations. This will be from a perspective of like general CMS foundations, not specific to Umbraco. We'll then kind of dive into AI that exists within Umbraco today and what that kind of looks like. We'll also touch upon Umbraco in AI, so how you kind of integrate external systems that use AI with Umbraco itself. We'll then have some key takeaways on what we've kind of discussed and gone through today on this webinar. And then if you have any questions, please use the Q&A function to kind of ask any, and we can kind of touch on those at the end. So welcome, my name's Rob. I am an architectural lead at CTI. I work on the .NET team, so it's the team responsible for Umbraco builds and Umbraco integrations. I've been working in the industry for about 20 years, primarily with .NET, but also across multiple tech stacks. I've been working with Umbraco for a long time. I've been working with Umbraco since version 4. It's changed a lot since I first started using it. It's much nicer now. So yeah, it's something we've been using for a long time. Bolette?
Yeah, hi everyone. I am Bolette and I work at Umbraco HQ. I am a product manager in the team of the CMS and the AI team. And daily, I make sure that all the requests that we get from conversations with our partners and our end clients, that they are reflected in our daily work within the two teams, and then also in the roadmap that we have ahead.
Great stuff. So who are CTI? We are a full service digital agency. We have over 150 great people working across multiple technology stacks, CEO, Crow, data, and innovation. And innovation is directly focused with AI sort of processes. We've been doing this as an organization for over 22 years. So we've seen a lot in that time. And this is a very different time at the moment. It's very fast paced, but it's really an enjoyable time as well to kind of work through what's transforming in the landscape. So why CTI Digital and Umbraco? So we are a platinum contributing partner. We have members of the team that are actively active in the local Umbraco meetup scene. We have various members of the team that are on Umbraco advisory boards, and we've been delivering high quality Umbraco projects for well over 10 years now. Umbraco is a CMS that powers a lot of our clients, a lot of our large clients like Mind and Chester Zoo. And it's a platform that enables us to kind of deliver high quality solutions, but it's one that's going from strength to strength. There's been a lot of change recently with the Umbraco system, but it's all been really positive and really forward thinking. So we're just going to touch on CMS systems in general and AI foundations. So a lot of this process is about getting the foundations right. So AI adoption is on every roadmap, basically in every department, every business. But with that pressure to kind of adopt AI, what can happen is those foundations kind of get lost. So your website, and in particular your CMS, need to have the processes in place to allow you to adopt AI in a predictable way, but also respond to the changes of the landscape. The AI landscape at the moment is going through a period of like really rapid change. I'm sure there are a lot of people on this call, myself included, that there's a change daily. Something else comes out, a new model, a new process, a new function. There's so many breakthroughs that happen. It's difficult to kind of keep up with that. So the foundations need to be solid, but they also now need to enable you to kind of adapt to that ever changing process. So what should that look like when you focus on your CMS specifically? Your CMS should provide the AI functionality, but you should do it from the perspective that not everyone's workflow is the same. And that landscape is changing, like we've said. Implementation should be built on a foundation layer that can evolve with you, with the foundation, with the landscape that's changing, but also with your own internal processes that need to change. It should give you full control of what you're using. So full control of your agents, full control of your models, allowing you to pick the right tools for the right jobs at the right times. It should give you governance. It should allow you to kind of put governance rules in place, allow you to control the behavior, the tone, and also the context that your prompts and your interactions with an LLM do. It should also give you a holistic view of usage. So things like tracking spend, what the requests are, what the responses are, and who is actually using them within your organization. It's key information, gives you that holistic view of what AI tooling is being used for within your organization. Really importantly, it should allow you to kind of test what you're getting back from a system. So LLMs in general are non-deterministic. You give it the same prompt 5 times, it will give you 5 different answers. To kind of make sure that you're getting that consistent and relevant content back, you need to be able to kind of test, but also from the perspective of price. There is a misconception that if you use the latest model, you're always going to get back the best response. But the reality is you could probably use a cheaper model and a cheaper older model and get the same sort of quality response back. So having that ability to test is really important, and also provide you with guardrails. So it should provide you with the guardrails to allow you to control where the AI works in your system. So restrict access to properties or document types, or individual people can only use certain AI. Should give you that sort of process to create that guardrail. Bolette, I know the foundation aspect is core decision with Umbraco, but also that ability to test is really important. It's something that's come across in a lot of the processes. Can you kind of expand on that for us?
The test feature.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a new feature that we added into what we call Umbraco AI, which is the foundation of AI going on in the back office. And we have multiple features in there, but the one of the latest that we added is this test. And it really allows you to test your individual prompts or the agent that you use in your back office. And you can test it, as you say, not only up against different LLMs and different models, but you can also test it to make sure that you engineer your prompt or your agent to feedback the output that you need. So you can set up specific graders on it. You can say, well, for this prompt, I have the need to have exact 160 characters. I need to have, some very constraints measures on it, or you can also have an LLM to judge. Say you were doing a SEO meta description, have an LLM judge whether the prompt that is being given back from the LLM is speaking into search criteria, is using the right keywords that you set up. So with this feature, we are really giving you the ability to work very closely with AI and prompt and agents. Make sure you refine it and improve it over time. Also, if you change your model.
Yeah, sounds great. I think I've seen some of the demos for it, and it does look like a really, really interesting feature to allow you to kind of evolve your AI usage over time and make sure you're using the correct models and getting the best value.
Yeah.
So those foundations are great. As transformative as AI has the potential to be, when you're delivering in terms of content, and how that content can affect the view of your organization, both from a positive and negative viewpoint, it's important to have that human governance over the content that's getting generated. So there is a term called human in loop. I don't particularly like the term human here. It's about people, but it is the term that's going around in the space at the moment. So that's essentially using people to kind of govern the AI output and make sure that it's relevant, that it's at a high quality, and that you can kind of be comfortable with delivering it to your end users. So what would that kind of look like in practice? Essentially, any generation of content, no matter the scope, should have the correct contents and governance rules applied to it. That should be centrally managed, and it should apply to every prompt that goes to an LLM. That gives the LLM a set of conditions that it needs to meet when it's kind of producing that content, or it needs to return. Now, anyone who's used an LLM will know that it will still try and get out of those guardrails at times. So that's why it's really important to have this like additional layer to kind of manage that content and manage that kind of scope. So once that generation is complete, a person in your team has the opportunity to kind of review that content generation, and depending on where they are in the flow, they have the potential to refine it manually, just by going through and updating the response, or they can kind of reprompt the LLM and go through a conversational style process where they kind of improve the output over time and get it refined that way. Only when the editor or the editorial team are happy with that content is it then approved for release. So you have that full model where you're getting the benefits of generative AI, but you are controlling the output from that bait. And it's an important gate and quality control measure that you should have in place when you're working with a deterministic system like an LLM. So we're now going to move on to AI that exists within Umbraco today. So Umbraco have taken a view of a composable AI system. So a lot of organizations have gone through that sort of FOMO, fear of missing out phase, where they don't want to be the last to market. They've just implemented a bunch of AI features because everyone else is doing that. So that's great. And I'm sure many of the people in the room, I know myself included, will make use of those features. And I do with the systems that we use internally. But I do find myself having to kind of shift my workflow to work with them as opposed to them working with my workflow. And they're fine, they do help, but it's not necessarily always the benefit that you can kind of get out of it. And Braco have kind of taken a different view on this. The approach is then to not be on the dance floor, but to actually be in the balcony, kind of looking at everyone in the dance and understanding like what is the overall landscape and how they want to kind of implement that. So their approach to this is to create a modular way of including AI into your workflow. You don't have to use AI at all if that's your preference, but if you do, you have like that foundational layer to kind of do that. But I know this is a very deliberate decision from Umbraco HQ. It's a part of all your messaging. It's part of all the
Yeah.
blog posts and everything. Can you kind of expand on what that kind of looks like from a HQ perspective?
Yeah, I can try. So, composability has always been our position on how we design Umbraco products, whether that is inside the CMS with content, or whether that is extending our products, or what you choose to host your project. And AI is really no different. And as you also say, we deliberately resisted the temptation to pick a single LLM partner and ship a deeply integrated experience around it, because that's exactly the kind of decision that aids very badly or constrains the users, as you also self mentioned, Rob. But what it looks like inside Umbraco is that it's not only the choice of what LLM you're using, it's also about where AI is allowed to act. It's what properties it can touches, is who can invoke it, and how its behavior is governed. And also, as you mentioned yourself, Rob, some of these baked-in AI features, they're nice for some and perhaps not as nice for others. One of the capabilities, this control we offer inside of Umbraco AI, and that I really think is a cool feature, is that you can set up different profiles using different LLMs. So, for example, a marketing team that is making a campaign and is very creative, they might want to use one model, and they also want to have the LLM be creative together with them. Whereas a legal team might need less creativity and really needs to stay within some clear boundaries. And a single CMS needs to support both without forcing one to compromise. And I think that's possible within within the foundation of AI.
Yeah, and I agree. I think a lot of the demos have kind of shown that where you're able to kind of provide different context to different agents and different profiles within the back office. So yes, I think it's going to be key moving forwards. So what does that look like from a platform perspective? So Umbraco AI is the foundational package. It's there to design. It's designed to kind of drive all AI integrations with Umbraco. It's owned and maintained by Umbraco HQ, so it's part of their overall roadmap of delivery. But the way it's implemented is it's implemented as an optional element that sits on top of the CMS. It's not part of the core system. So you can opt in or not opt in at all, depending on how you want to use it. By providing it as a foundation, as an extension of the core CMS, what that gives you is stability. So the core CMS system is untouched. This is another layer that sits on top of it. There's not going to be any stability issues with the core CMS because the product is going to be built on top of it. It gives you choice, like Bolette said. You can pick the LLMs, you can pick the models, you can models that best suit budgets, but also the task at hand. And you can kind of control the profiles and who can kind of use those profiles and where those profiles are used. Uh, Again, that kind of leads into the control aspect. You control where the AI is used. So, for example, if you have an agent that you want to run purely in the media section, because it's there to kind of organize media or update alt tags or content like that, then it can only have access to the media section. Same with content, but you can also do that to a granular level. So it's down to the properties, it's down to the user groups as well. You have like that fine-grained control over the whole process to make it available where it needs to be made available. Modularity. So there'll be official add-ons that come from this, and we'll mention some of those on this webinar. But it also gives you that baseline to create commercial products on top of it, but also community-driven AI functionality. It's something that we've been looking at to build on top of the foundation. We've been given some specific use cases from clients around some generative elements, and we'll be looking at kind of releasing some add-ons to Umbraco AI as we get more comfortable with it. Governance, again, you can kind of control the LLMs, the models, the contexts. That includes tone, behavior, and brand alignment, things like that. You have that full governance aspect of it. And also traceability. So within the package itself, there's an analytics area. You can kind of track your usage, your spend, who's been using it, what they've been using it for, but also the granular level of what those prompts are, and also what the requests and responses are from the LLM. So you have that full visibility of your usage within the system, which I think is really key. So
Yeah. Sorry, can I jump in? I think the list of things you mentioned here, it's really what makes AI not a black box within your
yeah,
product. It really removes the magic that we were perhaps a bit impressed with in the start, but then it turns into what is really going on behind. So all of these capabilities is really opening up AI and giving you the visibility into what is going on and giving you the control to change it.
yeah, and I think that may enables you to kind of adapt to the processes, so you can see if something's not really working, and you can
Yeah.
change it based on that data. Having that data at hand is going to be really, really important for people. So, from a conceptual view, this is kind of what it looks like. So, you have Umbraco as the backend CMS. You have Umbraco AI is essentially that governance layer. You're able to kind of choose your LLM, choose your define your tone, audience, your intent, and then you have access to an analytics logging and that testing functionality. That's all a part of that core layer.
Yeah.
Then you have what I call an intelligence layer, where you have add-ons that sit on top of that. So that's things like agents, property prompts, but also community and sort of commercial extensions will kind of form that intelligence layer that both facilitate like general use cases, but also facilitate more specific ones that sit within your organization. And then you have like an integration layer, and that kind of forms around the content APIs that Umbraco provides, agent skills, which are more of a technical process where it allows developers to kind of use skills to implement elements within Umbraco, but also MCP. We'll touch on MCP in a little bit later, but MCP is a way of integrating backend systems or integrating agents with Umbraco directly. And then, of course, you have the agents. I'm sure people are very familiar with Claude and Open ChatGPT and Gemini, but also processes like N8N and Zapier can also like tap into this integration layer as well. So, Umbraco AI, as we've kind of mentioned before, is modular. That's the core structure of it, is there to kind of be able to be built upon. It's not a black box, like Bolette has said. It's there for you to kind of expand and implement your own requirements with AI. Whilst HQ will kind of provide some of those elements to it, it's going to be down to the wider community and commercial partners like CTI to kind of build upon that. So as part of that commitment, HQ have kind of delivered or they're in the process of finalizing a few add-ons that kind of exist within the Umbraco AI framework at this time. One of them is prompts. Prompts are quite simple, but they're quite powerful at the same time. So they allow you to create predefined one-shot prompts that perform a specific task. So if you think about creating an SEO meta title or tagging a piece of content, you can kind of create a prompt that sits within the system. You can define what agent it uses, what model it uses, and also any sort of contextual information like the brand or code guidelines that you've kind of set at your governance layer. You can also control the availability of that prompt. So you can define it down to the property level. So, for example, like I said, the SEO title example, you can have it so it only works on that property type. It doesn't work anywhere else. So that prompt is very focused. It's very context aware, and it can kind of do the job that it's there to do. But you can make it as granular as you need. You can attach it to a specific section as well, or make it available to all text boxes or all rich text areas. It's that sort of flexibility to allow you to do that. The second is probably more powerful, is agents. Agents are not just a one-shot process. You can have a conversation with an agent, a back and forth process that enables you to kind of build out a content process over time. It also, it's not there quite now, but it will be in the future where it allows you to kind of run tasks on your behalf, automation tasks on your behalf. And I think that's definitely something that I know Matt was talking about in one of the conversations you had recently. So it will become more powerful as more features are kind of implemented. One of the implementations at the moment, and I think you can kind of see it on screen right now, is a Copilot, an Umbraco Copilot that exists within the system. So you'll be able to have a conversation with an LLM and kind of perform tasks within that. So you can ask it to review the page that you're on and kind of build out a summary or do other tasks that sit within that Copilot remit. What's really clever about it is it does have the context of where you are. So you can feed it in. You don't have to tell it what page. If you're on a page and you bring up the Copilot, it will know that is the page you want to kind of go through and discuss. So these are just a couple of implementations that are there at the moment. But I've watched a few of like Matt's run throughs on this. I know the team continue to work on like features, but this is why that foundation layer is really important, because it kind of gives you the ability to kind of expand out. These are very specific functionalities, but you can kind of build your own as and when you need.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, as you mentioned, these two prompts and agent plus Copilot is really just the first examples of AI features that HQ has built, and we will continue to build more in the future. And they lie on top of this foundation layer. And I think what is really important to underline is that foundation layer of Umbraco AI, it means that this when you're relying on that, it means that the same governance and logging and LLM choice apply to all the AI features that you might add to your module layer, both those from HQ, but also those that are partner built features or something that is very custom to you that your developer team has worked on. And that means that you don't end up with 5 different of AI integration, all making their own choice of LLM or tone of voice. When you use features that lies on top of Umbraco AI, the foundation layer, it's your choices in every of the AI features that you choose to bring into your CMS.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I was going to say,
Yeah, go ahead.
I remember a lot of the AI functionality that came before this was very specific. It
Yeah.
didn't have the same sort of granular control. So I think this is like a really good step forward. And it's consistent because you can manage the actual governance layer as opposed to kind of farming it off to the component itself.
Yeah. And all of this, all of these examples of AI features are open source, so it also acts as an inspiration into partners like CTI that are looking to build custom AI features to your clients. You can peek into see how we have done it, and you can of course also extend and make your own. Because one of the important things for us is that we don't want to be the bottleneck of every AI feature everyone in the Umbraco world wants to build. The foundation lets partners build specialized things on top, and then it inherits the governance model rather than reinventing it in every AI feature that we build on top of a CMS.
Yeah.
And this saves time, and it also makes CTI and other partners able to focus on more tailored projects and building those custom things that you need in your project, whether that is CMS features or whether that is AI features. So we hope that it will benefit to a broader extent.
Yeah, I mean, we've been playing with this functionality with this framework, and we are implementing a very specific use case, and that use case is very specific to one client. It's to do with image generation, but image generation in a very specific way. So that won't apply to a lot of clients because it's very specific, has a very specific context. But we're going to be able to build it within this framework and have it delivered with the same sort of guardrails as everything else that's part of the process. So it's been a really interesting process for us.
Yeah,
Kind of learn and understand how this kind of fits together.
that sounds
Um,
very good. I think
so
it's also really that the modular design means that we can evolve and you can evolve, and we can do this without breaking what is already there because it's built in this foundation and then module layer.
yeah, no, I think it's going to be really important moving forward. So it gives people the flexibility to build what they want, and you're not waiting for Umbraco HQ. Although you've done a lot of stuff here, it's not going to be waiting for you to kind of implement everything under the sun, which is really good.
Mm.
So we're just going to touch on Umbraco in AI. So essentially what this means is Umbraco kind of exists everywhere where AI is. There's going to be functionality that we've kind of discussed that sits within Umbraco, but there's also AI that sits outside of Umbraco. But how do you kind of integrate back in both directions with Umbraco and external systems? So the obvious element there is automation via APIs. Umbraco's had an API focused roadmap for a long time. Recently, the content management API has kind of been released with later versions, but the content delivery API has been around for a long time. These two API structures give a lot of room for automation and automation integration points for backend systems. That means like tools you may already use, like if you're using NAN, which is what's on screen right now with one of our colleagues at CTI has been doing some NAN training. Make or Zapier, you can kind of connect Umbraco to automate tasks like generating content via external triggers, enriching content in certain ways, or pushing data to other systems, or actually pulling data back into the systems that's been enriched via AI. You can kind of control that via the APIs that already exist. So it's been something that's been around for a while, and you can kind of use that today to integrate backend AI systems in. Maybe the more interesting area there is around MCP. So as agents become a bit more sophisticated, the way they interact with backend systems is changing. So Anthropic who built Claude, for example, have trying to standardize this process. So they've come up with a protocol called Model Context Protocol. It's an emerging standard. It gives AI like a common way of interacting with backend systems. So essentially, if you've created an MCP server, you essentially create like a recipe book or a toolkit that an agent can kind of use to understand how it can interact with your system. Now, the developer MCP has been around for a while. Been around since middle of next year, last code garden. We use it internally as a way of speeding up our local development. It's been really eye-opening what it can do from an agent perspective. But coming this year, I'm not sure when exactly, but coming this year, there will be an editor-focused MCP. So that will be a bit more narrow in its focus. Its focus will be helping editors to perform tasks within the same sort of guardrails, within the same sort of process. So what that means, so if we remove the MCP part of it, because it's quite a technical bit of magic, essentially it will allow an editor to kind of run commands from a client. So if you're using Claude, for example, you'll be able to use your Claude client to actually run commands that then go to your Umbraco instance and perform updates for you. But additionally, if you want to do more of a headless sort of approach, it does allow you to connect other systems via the MCP for more automated tasks as well. So it does kind of open up the scope. The tools are going to be very specific to editors, so it will be very controlled in what it can do in the back office, which the developer MVC is a bit different to that, gives you a bit more scope to kind of do more things. So if you think about that from a use case perspective, if you're in your Claude client, for example, you could ask it to create a draft page for an upcoming campaign. It will work out what it needs to do, how it needs to interact with your Umbraco instance, and go and do that directly from your client. I think it's quite a powerful way of interacting with your backend system without actually being logged into Umbraco. And now to kind of do that. You could also, from a client, audit your media library, trying to find any unused media directly from a prompt and getting it to work out what's used and what's not. From an automation perspective, you could identify like stale blog posts or stale blog content that needs to be updated, or it's not been updated in 6 months and needs a review. So it kind of facilitates a lot of use cases. And I think, and this is another touch point on everyone's AI journey is different, everyone's workspace is different, everyone's way of working is different, and having these tools in this flexible way allows you to kind of work it with it however you need to work with it. Okay, so we've discussed like foundations, we've discussed AI that exists within Umbraco, AI that exists outside of Umbraco but can still interact with Umbraco directly. So we'll just go through some like key takeaways to this. Before we dive into it, I just want to kind of bring up some AI use cases. So AI use cases for AI and a CMS could be infinite. They're all going to be down to your own internal workflows, what you need to produce. And I think that's what's key about what we've been discussing today, about that modular framework of being able to kind of build out functionality or use AI in the way that best suits your organization. But these are some general use cases that you could kind of use it for. We've kind of mentioned this before. You could use it as a content co-creator, getting it to produce draft content on your behalf, and then enable you to kind of review that. So hopefully it takes your time down spent creating and drafting initial content, and you can kind of focus on refining that content and making it better. SEO support, generating meta titles, descriptions, checking keyword density, analyzing pages for SEO issues can be run either via a prompt or via a copilot, for example. Geo support, which is to do with making your content more discoverable by LLMs. It rolls around more structured markup, so creating that JSON structure could be something that an LLM or a prompt can do on your behalf based on the page context that you're in. Content repurposing, so transforming long form content like a white paper or a very long blog post into much more channel specific content. So something you can use in a tweet. Is it still called a tweet? Something like that, or in other areas where you can kind of break that and distill that content to apply it to different scenarios. Content tagging is an obvious one, getting the LLMs to kind of review content both from an image perspective or video, producing alt tags or tagging that content up is something that can be done quite easily. And also intelligent translation. So working on, if you're working on multilingual sites, AI can kind of translate content and produce like first drafts. And that can then be sent for review to a native speaker to kind of fill in the gaps and correct. I'm sure there'll be grammar mistakes in there to correct. So, you can kind of do that. So it enables you to kind of produce more stuff quicker, but then also feed back into that sort of human loop that we've been discussing. What's going on? Okay, so it didn't move then. So some key takeaways here. So AI has the potential to kind of transform your team's workflow, but without like the guardrails and the oversight, the quality of the quantity of the content you could produce can outpace the quality. So I know we see this a lot with development in that we can produce a lot more code, but that code still needs to be reviewed. It's the same sort of process. It does apply to content as well. So within that, you should always lead with governance. You should always control that. So setting the tone, the behavior, the brand alignment, using those tools to kind of set that ahead of time and making sure it's applied to everything which AI touches within your CMS is really important. Creating that human in the loop process ahead of time. So if you're using Umbraco already, you're probably using Umbraco workflow, which is an area which can facilitate that. But if you're using any other system as well, you'll have a workflow system that kind of gives you those guardrails as well, making sure that there is a person at the end kind of reviewing that. Build up your AI usage over time. So identify one workflow, implement that workflow, but then test it. That testing process is where you prove the value. You prove, is it effective? Is it saving us time? Is it cost effective for us to do it this way? And if it's not, you can stop or you can adjust it. Or if it is, you can kind of carry it on. This is a key one. Prompts are a key element of AI interaction. If your organization is not doing this already, prompt training should be part of that overall AI adoption. There's a lot of different strategies when it comes to prompting an LLM to getting better results. So if your organization is looking to integrate AI, it's definitely one to look for. You don't always need the latest or most expensive model. Testing again is key to this. Testing alternative models that are potentially cheaper, that don't affect the output or the quality of the output, but do save you money, is going to be really important. One of the elements that Bolette has kind of mentioned with regards to profiles allows you to do that. Allows you to kind of create different profiles using different models and use them against the implementation you need to. Also, the biggest gains often come from the workflows you least expect. So audit your content processes, identify like bottlenecks that you already have, pain points, and see if AI can kind of help you remove that friction or help you process that information faster. And then it goes back to the identify the workflow, and then you can test and refine over time. So it kind of goes in a cycle as well. And that's like a key process here that you should do. So what does that mean with building your AI content strategy with Umbraco? I think the messaging from Umbraco, and it's one that we kind of share, is that it isn't about adopting every AI tool just because it's there and it's shiny and it's nice. It's about adopting the right tools that are going to actually help your organization. They're going to help you achieve better results or quicker results. So this is something that is really important. And as the landscape, as mentioned, is very fast moving and changing, Umbraco approach gives you like those foundations that allow you to adopt AI in your own pace, doing the integration where you need it to be at a pace that suits your organization. Doesn't have to be that quick. You have the opportunity to kind of build up over time. It's a model agnostic platform. So if you use multiple LLMs like we do at CTI, you can kind of use those across different profiles and across different jobs. So you're getting the best of both worlds. You're able to kind of facilitate specific jobs with specific agents that do better at certain things. There's a value for editors, so AI that exists within the back office that adds real value to editors, allows you to kind of define where AI supports your workflow, whether that's like a prompt, whether that's a co-pilot, whether that's a more of a scheduled agent that runs, you have that ability within the back office. And the last point is integration. Your CMS doesn't have to sit on its own. Systems don't tend to sit on their own nowadays, but with the Umbraco APIs and the MCP that's coming, you kind of have that connected part of your workflow, so you can kind of expand out and integrate as and when you need to. So I think I'm going to check. I don't know, Bolette, if you have any other things you'd like to add, or
No, I think the overall message is really that the flexible and model and agnostic stance gives not only us, but also our partners, CTI and others, and the end users room to adapt to a really fast-moving landscape. And we've taken the approach of that we would rather build something durable and then evolve over time, add more use cases to it over time, than ship a flashy thing that stales within Q4 of the year we are in. And then also really that from HQ, it's important that it's not just the focus of what AI is as a feature inside of the back office. It's also equally important for us that Umbraco shows up as what we call an agent-ready CMS that is available in the wider AI community. Because there is also a point in the future where this will be more relevant. For some, it already is, but I think some parts of a lot of part of the AI and CMS will also lie in how Umbraco shows up and work together with external AI.
yeah, I think from our perspective, it's going to be really key to kind of get people using this and understanding like the possibilities of it. So we'll start to kind of share that with our internal clients as well. But if anyone needs to reach out to us, if anyone has any questions outside of this webinar, then please feel free to kind of reach out. We can kind of support you on that process. I don't see any questions.
No, me neither.
So I think if there are no questions, thank you everyone for attending. And like I said, if there's any sort of questions that come up after this, please feel free to reach out.